Chapter 33. It will be nothing for a blip in a long period of only a brief reprieve from the agony of unions. 2 days after the gala at the Waldorf Astoria, a story would appear in a daily tabloid, and the butterfly they married was turning into would morph back into a caterpillar. It was a story that, in ordinary times, would have been dismissed as rubbish. Because really no one with a true sense of the world could be naive enough to think such things didn't happen. If there had been no collective desire to find the presumed architects of the financial crisis despicable, few would have cared to read the story. Its reguli- regurgitation in newspaper of record and blogs of Niput would have been another reminder why the American society as a whole could never call itself highbrow, why the easy availability of stories on the private lives of authors was turning others who otherwise who would otherwise be enriching their minds with worthwhile knowledge into juveniles who needed the satisfaction of knowing that others were more pathetic than them. But the story, though it first appeared in an ignoble tabloid, was not dismissed. Rather, it was talked about in barbershops and on playground benches, boarded to neighbor and classmate. It was a time of anguish in New York City, and those who put story in the front page knew where they wanted the rage of downtrodden to flow. "Did you see it?" Leah said to Jen after he had some missed call and called her back during his lunch break. "See what?" "The story from the prostitute. It's juicy." Poor Clark. I really hope he's not. "I don't know what you're talking about, Leah." "Honey, you obviously haven't read it," Leah said excitedly. "Well, you won't believe it, but this woman, this escort, I hate when they use such fancy word for prostitutes. Anyway, she claims she has a lot of clients from Barclays, and listen to this, her clients are paying for her service with bailout money, bailout money, bailout money. Can you believe it?" Jin shook his head but didn't reply. The bailout thing was in the news every day, but he still didn't understand if it was a good thing or a bad thing. "And you want to hear the crazy part?" Leah went on. Who's Leah? Her voice getting pitchier in excitement. "One of the executives she mentioned as a frequent client is Clark." No, Jen immediately said, "It's not true." She says it right there. "It's not true." "How do you know it's not true?" "She wrote his name down." "No, he only mentions them by title, but I know Clark's title." Jen chuckled to himself. "Ah, Leah," he said, "you should not believe everything you read in the newspaper. People write all kinds of things." "Oh, I believe this one, honey. I know that those men, what they do. No one's going to make me think this is impossible. There's no way it can be true. Mr. Edward would never use bailout money for his own things. And even if the other men in Backlash used this prostitute, how does she know which pocket the money came out of? Mr. Edward has his own money. He would never touch government money. Maybe not. But what about touching prostitute? You think he's never used one or two or 100? I bet you've seen him. I've never seen anything. Poor Cindy. Poor her for what? For when she reads this, she's going to go crazy. She's not going to believe any of this. I'm sorry, getting upset and wondering if Leah was excited about the downfall of a family or just loving the gossip. It is funny in this culture how people write lies about other people. It is not right. My country we gossip a lot, but no one would ever write it down the way they do in America. Oh, Jen laughed, laughing. You really believe in Clark, huh? I don't like it when people make up stories about other people. Jen said, getting increasingly agitated at Leah's glee. And how does this woman even know what Mr. Edwards' title is? Yeah, that's one thing that's funny, right? The madams don't give the name of the client to the girls. The girls are just told the time and place to show up. And please, honey, don't ask me how I know all this. Leah left herself. Jen did not join her. But Cindy, Leah Beno, she's not going to care about any of that. The woman is paranoid to a T, and let me warn you, she's going to be asking you lots of questions. She used to pepper me with questions whenever she has a chance. But I had to tell her, woman, I don't work for you. You can take 20 minutes of my time. What is she going to ask me? Tons of stuff, honey, Leah said. And then could sense her smiling, perhaps delighting herself with the thought of the entertaining drama that was likely to unfold. She's going to ask you if you ever took him to a hotel, if you ever saw one of those bimbos. I'd be really careful if I were you because please stop worrying yourself for me. Jen said, forcing him to sound nonchalant. If she had any question, she would ask her husband. The poor woman. I hate to be in her shoes. Any of their shoes. Now you see why I never bothered getting married. Actually, Genta, you didn't get married because no one wanted to marry you, or you didn't find anyone you loved enough to marry, because no woman with a brain intact will say no to a man she loves if the man wants to marry her. Women enjoy making noise about independence, but every woman, American or not, appreciates a good man. If that wasn't the case, why did so many movies end with a woman smiling because she finally got a man? I mean, marriage is good. Don't get me wrong, Leah went on, and Jen barely listened because he was praying the story was fake and Cindy would be able to tell that someone was out to hurt me like Clark. They've been through a lot, you know. Clark's almost died one time. He ruptured his appendix so bad it burst. He had to be rushed into emergency surgery, and I think if I remember clearly, that was the year Mighty was born a preemie. Apparently, Cindy only wanted one child that didn't plan for Mighty. At least that's what I heard. Though that's what I heard. Though I bet Cindy is thinking her lucky star if she had a second child. Now that Vince has run off up to India and Mighty the only one left. Anyway, the poor thing spent a whole month in the hospital. Clark and Cindy, God bless them. They pulled through together. But that's marriage, right? It tells me to send their calls to voicemail, or when you see them at company parties, you think they're the happiest couple. I'm sorry, Leah Jen said, looking at the clock and starting the car. Some people are real good like covering their shit. And these people you weren't in my position, you wouldn't know a thing judged from how they are laughing and I'm sorry, Leah. Jen said again. We have to go get married. Oh, sorry, honey. Leah Tim. Go on, but promise you're going to call me and tell me what happened when Cindy Bowles finds out. I'm dying to know. Janet dismissively promised to do so and quickly hung up, remembering only minutes later that he hadn't asked her how her job search was going. The last time they'd spoken, Leah had sounded depressed about not getting any calls back after sending out over 50 resumes, but today she sounded cheerful, thanks to survey detail about the lives of others, women and gossip. But Raphaelia wasn't just making up gossip to pass the time. He called Winston as he dropped out of town, hoping to ask him to read the story online and advise him on what he needed to do. But Winston didn't pick up. He thought about calling Nanny but decided it could be useless. What would she say besides something wrong, something along the line what Leah had said? He needed to decide what she was going to say to Cindy when he picked her up at 5. He had to assume she's read the story. He had to imagine that she would have questions for him as they drove to Lincoln Center, where she was to meet a friend for dinner and the opera. He had to prepare to assure her again and again, and they had never seen Clark with a prostitute, and that was the truth. He had never seen Mr. Edward with a prostitute with his own eyes. He had to be ready for Cindy to doubt him, but he had to try as hard as he could to convince her that he knew nothing about it. Everything he'd written in the blue notebook was the absolute truth. Good evening, madam, he said as he held the car open for her. She did not reply. Her countenance was as hard as marble. Her eyes covered with sunglasses in the light darkness. Her lips pursed so tightly it was unimaginable they had ever broken into a smile. Lincoln Center, madam? Take me home. Yes, madam. He waited for a question, but nothing came. Not even a word on her phone. He imagined she had turned her phone off, and he couldn't blame her for silencing the word at such a time. Her friends were probably trying to reach her to express their shock, tell her how awfully sorry they were, say all manner of things. They would do nothing to take away her disgrace. What good would it do her to listen to all that? And if they weren't calling her, they were calling each other to say, can you believe it, Clark? Of all people, poor Cindy must be utterly devastated. But how could he? Do you think the story is true? What's she going to do now? And they would go on and on, saying the same kind of things his mother friends used to say in their kitchen. Even when one of their mates' husband has been caught atop of spreading spreading the woman in New York, the woman all seemed to agree that the friend had to find a way to move on, forgetting that the wreckage of so devastating a betrayal cannot easily be cleared away. They approached the sapphire. Jan looked at Cindy in the rearview mirror, hoping she would say something, anything, to open up the opportunity for him to profess his innocence, but she remained silent. He had not anticipated this silence, and silence. Even if he had, he wouldn't have imagined it would be more dread-inducing than the question, inducing and the question. They got within a block of the sapphire until she remained silent, her face fully drawn down and turned toward the window and the cold dark world outside. I'm taking you to the office at 11:30 tomorrow, madam, he asked as he pulled in front of the building. She did not respond. I have the book with all the entries for the day, madam, he said as he held the car door open for her to exit. I wrote down everything. Keep it, he said. She said she walked away. I've got no use for it anymore.